So many questions. Such a stunning day for the NBA as many notable names caught up in this massive investigation we've now learned includes the mob. So let's bring in our Jake Garegnani with more on this. Can you help us understand exactly how big this is?
Yeah, there's a lot going on and a lot to focus on. I think the most important thing is that these are two separate allegations to keep in mind. One, the illegal gambling, and two, the mafia-backed poker games that Chauncey Billups has himself tied up in. With the illegal gambling, that's Terry Rozier. That's the guy who is essentially giving insider information to bettors, all of this allegedly, of course, but giving insider information to bettors and telling him that, hey, this player may be out, or I'm going to pull myself out of this game 5 minutes in, and then those bettors would put a bunch of money on Terry, and he would fake an injury or pull himself out, allegedly. And as far as the mafia-backed poker games going, this, Stephanie, is just insane when you think about coming straight out of a movie, stuff like this, because Chauncey Billups has himself wrapped up, allegedly, in this information where he would be what they said, face cards, right? His popularity would draw people into these underground poker games. People would sit down because they wanted to play poker with Chauncey Billups, and then everything at the table would be rigged from some incredible technology. I mean, talking about glasses and contact lenses that could help scan cards, shufflings machines that were rigged and stuff of that nature. So really, again, two different investigations that they have some overlap. I think the terminology that people are using is separate investigations, but related.
You think about this in two different lenses as, a news journalist, all of the, the federal indictments coming out of this, but also just simply as a fan. We know these people make tons of money. It's like, why? And how is the league reacting?
It's one of the more confusing things when you think about Chauncey Billups, who played 17 years in the NBA. He's a Hall of Famer. He was making around $4 million, from what I understand, as a head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. So the money aspect of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't have a great way of explaining that. The league is reacting in a way where they're going to cooperate with the FBI, and they're going to let this investigation play out. Obviously, everything is innocent until proven guilty. The FBI is kind of taking the lead on this because the NBA did investigate Terry Rozier a couple of years ago and approved him to be back in the league. That's why he was playing with the Miami Heat. And now you're seeing the FBI saying, no, we have this information that either the NBA didn't have or the NBA didn't deem as important. And so that is kind of the shocking information. I don't know if it is as shocking as people think, though, with the NBA, because this is something they've had happen before. I mean, Jontay Porter is a guy that is currently suspended and waiting trial for a very similar situation. And this kind of ties back to Jontay Porter and a couple other times that this NBA, the league, has gone through issues with gambling. And one of the things that I don't know if people talk about enough, but it's this idea that gambling is so much in our face now, right? Now, people have always gambled. That's truth to that. But the fact that it's every advertisement, the fact that the leagues have now gotten in bed with all these gambling sites, and the DraftKings and the ESPN Bet has its own site. So the fact that it is in the forefront and more accessible for these players than ever before, I think is an issue that definitely needs to be discussed.
Well, you just mentioned this has happened before with the league. They're not new to this. So let's talk about the credibility. How do they recover from this with so many people involved, so much money involved? And then also, how can they prevent this in the future? Enough is enough.
Right. I think the league will wait to figure out what is the charge, what are the charges, who is actually guilty, and they can kind of wait on that to see as far as credibility goes. But people will have a lack of trust with the NBA for reasons just like this due to what has happened. Their job is to make sure it doesn't happen ever again, and to make sure that it is impossible for this to continue at this level, to build that credibility back up. I will say, I don't know if the league has lost a ton of credibility because of these situations. Again, I don't think it's the most shocking thing in the world when it comes to the insider trading information. This is unfortunately stuff that you've seen pop up a few times in the league. As far as the poker games and the mafia being involved, that's the truly shocking thing that I think the league can pretty much wipe their hands clean of, aside from the fact that it is one of the faces of their league and Chauncey Billups playing in these, but it has nothing to do with the sense of Chauncey was changing games or the outcomes of games. It was just that underground poker, and I don't say just because it isn't light, but
yeah, it's not light at all, especially when the mafia could be involved in all of this. And then you think about this on just a very surface level. Little kids look up to these men, so how do they recover from this? How do they come and apologize to the public when we think long into the future here?
I think you own up to it. I mean, if you did something wrong, the only thing they can do is try and own up to it. You're talking serious, serious crimes here, though. I mean, Chauncey may be looking at 20 years in prison if things are proven to be true, and Terry in a very similar boat if certain things do go that way. But again, I'd like to reiterate, it's innocent until proven guilty. There's a lot of things that the FBI and the league need to look into, but own up to it's the only way you can really do anything in that situation.
The legal policy in our country. All right, Jake, thanks for the incredible insight. Really gave us good perspective.